of Health Professionals, and he will be followed by Michelle Wages, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Michelle is our Provo Council PTA representative. President Nielsen.
Our Father in heaven, we have gathered together this day as concerned citizens and employees and associates of this great city of Provo, Utah. We're grateful for our heritage and our association with wonderful people in this community. And, we're grateful that those who have expressed interest in issues or concerns that they have in regards to the upcoming election have made it a point to be here this day. We ask a blessing upon the proceedings of this meeting, that the two candidates will be able to express freely their concerns, their issues, their plans for what they will be doing if elected successfully in the office that they seek. Thankful for their efforts and the dedication that they have exhibited in expressing an interest in the city enough to be able to dedicate their time and effort and financial resources and other things to allow them to be those that will be on the ballot for consideration. We're also thankful, Father, for those who have worked hard and diligently to put this debate together, the chamber and others. Grateful for this facility that we have to meet in. We ask now that will again bless the candidates. They'll be relaxed and at ease and feel that they are among friends and colleagues here as they address the issues and the questions that will be presented. We offer up this prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
Will the audience please arise? Please repeat after me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you, President Nielsen and Michelle, for your assistance. Volunteers have been collecting cards that you were given as you came in. If you have additional cards or questions that you would like to ask, please jot down on a card. Just kind of raise them up, and Rhonda or a member of the staff of the chamber will pick them up and bring them up towards me. Now, these cards, we're clustering light questions in a manner to help be as efficient as possible. We are giving priority, obviously, to questions related to the Chamber of Commerce, as well as you, our participants here live in the audience. So we appreciate that. The rules for today. We have 45 minutes that we'll have an opportunity to debate with our mayoral candidates. Then we'll transition to members of our city council for their experience for the next 45 minutes. The rules are that there will be no opening statements. The candidates are aware of this. We want to get right into the questions and the heart of the matter here. However, at the end, we will afford each candidate a 90-second closing statement. Mandy here on the front row, candidates right here, Mandy, she will give you a 30-second signal with a white piece of paper, and then at a minute mark, we will give you a stop signal. And that is for the response to the various questions. We know that, well, there's a political saying that the bumper sticker trumps the essay. So we're looking for bumper sticker answers, but we appreciate the value of the essay. And that is your opportunity then to follow up as audience members and citizens of Provo to our mayoral candidates afterwards to get the essay answer. Does that make sense?
Great.
All right. Well, we appreciate you being here. And so with that in mind, again, we remind the audience, just kind of raise your hand and we'll pick up your questions. Let's go ahead and begin with our first question. The first question we'd like to ask, and we're going to hold no punches, we're going right after it. So take a drink and breathe deeply. And The order in which our candidates are seated are the order in which we will go to each question, and we'll alternate to the various questions to make it as equal as possible. So the first question goes to Michelle Kafusi. And by the way, welcome Michelle Kafusi and Sherrie Everett, our two Mayoral candidates. I forgot to introduce you. Thank you. They put themselves out in the public domain, which is always interesting and a fun experience, isn't it?
Very much so.
Yeah. I always like to say whoever wins gets sworn in, so you can be sworn at officially. Anyway, first question, Michelle. BRT is currently being built. Do you support BRT or not? Please explain.
So, those of you that have been following this, BRT came into existence in 2006. And we voted to have it come into our city. And then it went quiet for a while because of inflation and other issues. And as of recently, it was brought back up. And when that was brought up, so was a group of people who were very, very against it. And the problem with that is that it's coming. We need to embrace it at this point. Please, please, let's not waste our money. Let's utilize it, and let's get people off the road so that there's less people when I'm driving and you're driving.
Thank you. Sherrie.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you to the Chamber for sponsoring this. I have been known as the BRT lady. Now, there's a lot more to me than being just the BRT lady, but I believe that we are preparing Utah County and especially Provo for our future for jobs, our future for ability to be able to get our people around our city to work back home without more congestion, without more parking lots taking up our beautiful green space. So yes, I am for BRT. We anticipate it will be one of the most successful lines within the UTA system. And because I believed in that system, I went to represent our city to UTA to make sure that we got a 10 out of a 10 out of this project. And we've been able to work on UTA organization. We've also been able to work on doing things within the project that make it more collaborative, bring better partnerships with our community together, and help us overall because we are at the beginning of transit in this area.
Thank you very much. And if there's a need to follow up on something, I may exercise the moderator privileges to say, follow up on 15 seconds on this or that as a question may arise. And if you go too long, I'll have to be as polite as possible to remind you to move on to the next question. So please don't make me do that. All right, thank you. We have a lot of questions about housing costs, high density. So let's take one of them right now, and we'll have a couple follow-up, if you will. What is your plan to increase affordable housing? Do you have many young single adults or young married couples having a difficult time in finding affordable housing? So the question to you first, Sherrie, and then Michelle, will be what is your plan to increase affordable housing?
Thank you. We have a housing crisis, not just in Provo, but in the whole state of Utah. We do not have enough houses to house the members of our economy because it's growing so fast. So we do need to look at different ways to grow, and sprawl is expensive. So we are missing some key housing types in our city, and one of them is affordable housing, and one of them is high-density housing. I don't believe in sticking high-density housing into the cores of our neighborhoods, but there are places that it makes sense, and there are places where that kind of smart development helps to keep our taxes low and helps us to be able to keep our fees low and prepare for the future.
Thank you. Michelle.
So Provo is such a fantastic city. Everybody wants to live here. They come here just for school, and they end up wanting to stay because it is fantastic. We have a rich group of millennials that are vibrant and bring energy to the city, and we need to help them. We need to provide mixed housing so that they're able to stay. My goal in my life is to raise my kids here and have Provo be so inviting and engaging that they want to stay here and raise their kids, and et cetera, et cetera. That's the goal. We want to make Provo so inviting and so easy to access that people want to stay And we need to do some mixed housing to meet those needs.
So let's drill down a little bit more on mixed housing and high density housing, if you will. Let's follow up immediately with you, Michelle, because you introduced mixed housing.
Yes.
What does high density housing look like to you, and what is mixed housing look like as well? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So, high density housing, there is a place for it in Provo, but Provo needs to be very smart with how they do their development at this point. We are at a pivotal point in the city's history with population and the idea that we have so many companies that start here, and we have BYU and UVU. We are just in the center of two major universities that are just producing fantastic students. We need to be careful. We need to put our mixed housing where it belongs and be very smart about it. And also our high density. Mixed housing to me is probably like twin homes, duplexes, things like that. And high density would be more of the apartment type for the core of the city.
Thank you.
Sure. Mixed housing is for every life stage in your life. Those that start out, those that are young families, those that want to move up to a larger home, a larger piece of property, those that want to downsize when they become empty nesters, those that want to retire, and even those that want to age near their family in assisted care and living centers. I helped plan that type of mixed housing out at Broadview Shores, and it's beginning to work well. It's starting to come on. There's a few little tweaks that we're making, but it is an important part of our city. High-density housing occurs in our urban corridors, around our front runner station, around the mall, around in our downtown. And interestingly enough, our young professionals and young married couples, as well as our retirees, and Provo is the #1 place to retire and age, want to live. Many of them want to live in that type of housing so that they can be close to the restaurants, the downtown, and the activities.
Thank you. Staying with that theme, let's talk about the managing growth. That's housing, but how do we manage growth broadly? As mayor, you're trying to entice businesses to grow and flourish, people to come. How would you approach the management of growth in general in Provo? And begin with Sherrie, go back to Michelle.
Thank you. We need to quit thinking of high-density housing as the boulders and low-income housing. It is a totally different product nowadays. So we have tech coming to this area. We have our mall that's redeveloping. We have a medical school that wants to build and educate 350 physicians, and more and more and more. This is the opportunity for Provo. We need to look at ways that we can balance our tax burden on our residents. 50% of us pay 100% of the weight of our taxes for our city services and for our school services. The way we balance that is to bring more value into our community through the right types of development. And that's what my administration is going to focus on. It's going to focus on honoring the neighborhoods, but also balancing out the equation so that you don't have to bear as much of the burden.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, so the population is coming. We can't stop it. It's actually exciting. If everyone will just realize and embrace it, it's going to be fantastic as long as we can stay ahead of the game. We have to be conservative with our dollars. We have to be ahead of our infrastructure problems that we're being faced with. We have to be ready for what's coming. We can't, everyone loves you until your sewer backs up in your house, right? We cannot have issues like that. We have to be ready for what's coming our way. And also we need to shout from the rooftops. Provo's open for business. Please come and open business. We invite you. We're gonna make it easy. With me and my leadership, opening business in Provo, we're gonna cut through a lot of that red tape that slowed a lot of the businesses down that have wanted to, but that are shovel ready and ready to develop. Because by them working, it helps all of us and it helps our tax base.
Thank you very much. The next couple of questions are in that theme as well. Spinning off of managing growth, and specifically in economic development. So the first question would be, how will you drive innovation in the region, but more specifically in Provo? So there's a regional aspect and a local Provo aspect on driving innovation. Please, Michelle.
Yes, so like I stated earlier, we are in the perfect situation. We have that amazing UVU on one side of town, and we have BYU on the other. And people coming out of there are engaged and have learned and are ready and are tech savvy, and they want to stay here and they want to open their businesses. So we have to let them, and we have to invite them and make it easy. I spoke at the startup company the other morning, and wow, how fantastic are those people that are down there with this entrepreneurship attitude and excitement and desire to make Provo better. We need to support those and invite those people and make it so that they're happy and want to stay here and they have the necessities they need to stay here.
Thank you, Sherrie.
Thank you. I'm going to remind Michelle that we have more than 2 universities. We have actually 3 accredited universities, and the other one is a medical school. It is getting ready. They are doing postdoctoral. They're successful all over the country, and they have big plans and ideas that will pump billions of dollars into our economy. As we work through this, we need to make it easy to do business in Provo, but we are pretty landlocked and there isn't a lot of area for us to develop into. There's a lot on the west side, but we want to be careful to balance those interests. Now, we have an opportunity to build a regional sports park that will bring millions of dollars into our community. We have other opportunities all throughout this area, and I have a lot of experience in redevelopment, planning, master planning, and I think that experience lets me hit the ground running so that Provo does not lose momentum.
Thank you very much. Staying with the theme of economic development, we will again begin with Sherrie and come back to Michelle. What is your position on incentives to entice businesses to come to Provo?
Starting with me? Great. Let's go up to the Draper Farmhunter Station. UTA purchased that station platform area for $6 million in 2008. In 2015, the value of that station area grew to $115 million. 2 years later, it was $225 million. That's 350 acres that is just barely beginning to be developed. The value in that property is not going to a transit system. It goes to a community. And out of property tax dollars, 66% of it goes to our schools. So if we want to fund better teachers, if we want to fund better education, if we want to fund opportunities that keep and make our school system competitive, then we want the kind of high-density development in the right places that allow that. The mistake that they made was going too small in the vision. They said no more than 7 stories, and they built 3. They said they should have said no less than 10.
Thank you. Michelle?
So I want to stay right here in Provo. I don't want to look outside of Provo right now because I'm focused on Provo and making Provo strong. Economic development and RDAs and CDAs is something I've had the privilege of handling being on the Board of Education. We have been dealing with the city in a partnership for years and years and allowing those. And those types of situations where you give them a tax break for a set period of time, that's what entices the companies to come and set up storage and business and get to work here. We have to be open to those kinds of ideas, but yet we have to be very smart with those. We have to know our limits and our boundaries, and we have to stay within those because every single dollar counts. It's your dollar.
Cameron, I'd like to follow up on that.
15 seconds to each of you.
You bet, thank you. So our school district has a limitation on what kind of RDA deals that they will do in our city. There's a percentage point that limits them. So we really need to go back and look at that. I'm not sure why the school board hasn't looked at it yet, because that is one way to unleash funding for our community.
So we look at it every single time we meet, and I have another board member here, and she's like, what? Because we do. We are very aware of it, Sherrie, and we take complete advantage of it. We look at it, we discuss it, we talk about when one's going to drop off and the next one comes on. We are very current because it means a lot. We are partners with the city. We want to build the city as well, so we're here to help.
Thank you. Michelle, we're going to stay with you.
Great.
Broadly speaking, what is your vision for downtown Provo?
Downtown Provo is so fantastic. It has been revived and brought to life, and Mayor Curtis has done a fantastic job with the downtown Provo. I can honestly say we are down there multiple times during the week, eating, visiting, store shopping, window shopping, the concerts. It's vibrant, and I love that about downtown Provo. And when I'm your mayor, we are going to keep that momentum going down there. We're going to make it even better. We have got ideas and things that we want to put in place that is going to draw people into Provo. So they'll spend their money, they'll eat at our great restaurants, that they'll support the local businesses in downtown Provo, because that's our goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherrie.
Thank you. Facade grants, blade signs, downtown master plans, they were all things that I worked on when I was on the council. We are moving forward with the things that are happening. Thank goodness Mayor Curtis continued that vision and added his own opportunities and innovation to our downtown. Now, we've got a lot of things happening. We need more hotels. We need to be good partners with because our tax dollars are in the convention center and they do not have enough hotels in our downtown and enough parking to service those hotels. So those are things that we're going to go to work on. And those are things that we're going to help because we have a lot of our young investors that have come in and started restaurants in a restaurant scene and all of these other things. And then we've got this transit line that's going to come down and bring students from both universities into our downtown. It's exciting. We're just starting.
Thank you. Sticking with a downtown theme, parking is an issue. So specifically, how will you address the parking woes of capacity that is currently experiencing? First Sherrie, then Michelle, please.
Thank you. As chair of Provo's Transportation Mobility Advisory Committee, we worked through and advised and helped guide the document for our parking strategic plan for downtown and for also Joaquin. One of the things that came out of that was to hire a parking specialist in the city, and we've done that. We have a very capable person in Matt Taylor. I'll be working directly with him as we study and implement solutions. Now, let's talk about innovation. We all kind of shake our heads that driverless Uber is coming, and so one of the things we want to balance is how we invest in those parking garages, that we're not building Taj Mahal parking garages, because at some point they will redevelop, because driverless Uber will become many of the ways that we get around town, because it'll be less expensive and more convenient. We change from horses to cars, we'll adapt at some point, and so we need to have a good vision of the future.
Thank you. Michelle, please.
So it's been fascinating on this journey of this campaign to talk to people about parking. It's almost like the word parking is a swear word in Provo right now, because everybody has an opinion about it, and it's fascinating. Parking is an issue. We have to address it. Mayor Curtis saw the need and thought it would be a good idea to hire someone, Matt, who happens to be here today, to be what they call like the parking czar and handle it. I believe he's competent. I'm not worried about him. I think he's going to do his research and bring the parking issues to the table, and we'll discuss them and we'll solve this problem. I don't see this being a long issue. I bet you within 3 months of me being your mayor, we will have some significant changes in parking.
Thank you very much. I'm going to give the candidates a chance to take a drink and breathe, because have you enjoyed the rapid fire? Is it helpful? Thank you. Encourage them on. Thank you. We'd like to invite those who have come in. There are cards that you can fill out questions up at the square table back here. Fill them out, and then we can have John bring them up to us. We are categorizing them according to theme, if you will, and doing our best to sift through them. So thank you. You take a drink? Got a breath? All right. I think we start now with Michelle, right? So, Utah Lake, the quality of Utah Lake. What can we do to make for practical solutions to leverage that as a recreational hub and an economic engine for Provo?
So Utah Lake's fantastic. I remember as a little girl, we would drive down on Sundays and sweep off the snow and ice skate on it. I mean, there are a lot of stories tied to Utah Lake, a lot of memories for people. As I was engaging in this campaign, I met with the department that covers Utah Lake and got some great feedback from them. They educated me and told me, Michelle, think about it. Utah Lake is a bottom dweller lake. We have Jordanelle, Deer Creek, and at the bottom is Utah Lake. It's a shallow lake. It's the oldest lake. There's a lot of issues that come with that. So all this, the algae issues and the trout and the carp issues are all things we're working on to improve Utah Lake and to enhance it so people want to recreate down there. But in the meantime, we have to keep in mind that it is the oldest lake and it is the bottom. It gets the last of everything.
Thank you. Sherrie?
Thank you. I think Utah Lake is one of our most untapped benefits of being in Utah County. And yes, it is troubled, but you know what? They've made a lot of progress. There's another Delta system that will come into Provo that will help resolve the issue and move us closer to a permanent solution with the issue of the lake depth and the ability to be able to make it a healthy, good opportunity. We have not even begun to unleash, but just imagine the economic opportunity that comes by having that lake. I want to continue to work towards that beach and those quality of life issues that we have here in our on the lake. I live on the west side. I know about the lake. I visit the lake. I walk down by the lake. I use the trail systems around the lake. And we have that great opportunity to be able to look at how we manage the next step in this area. And I know that we are talking even long range about how we take a bridge across the lake.
Thank you very much. Let's stay with our natural resources and let's talk air. Sherrie, you'll go first. Air quality is of great importance to many of us. What is a practical approach? What is your practical approach to air quality in Provo?
Thank you. As Mayor of Provo, I'll continue to work on air quality measures. I'll be a representative on the Mountain Land Council of Governments. They work on air quality measures. Right now, you probably didn't know this, but there are studies going on at different altitudes all throughout the valley, studying how the particulate matter and all science comes together so that they can begin to analyze what conditions are creating issues for air quality for us. I'll continue to support the studies and the innovation in that area. We'll work towards better fuels, and I hope that we can continue to work with the legislature to help us reduce our emissions as well. And then I think I've already been working with it as the BRT lady in trying to reduce some of the 80,000 trips that go between UVU and BYU every single day. We think we'll be able to reduce about 15,000 of those.
So when I did my research on the issues with air, because it is a hot topic and it is something we have to address and take action on, I went and met with two professors at BYU, and after listening to them talk for an hour and a half, I said, so what's the takeaway? And they said, well, the takeaway is to solve this, right now we probably need to blow up a mountain so that the air can come in and go back out. Because right now we're in a valley. It comes in and it stays and it sinks, and that's where all the problems happen. We need to address it. We are addressing it. The legislature is on top of this. I believe they're going to come up with some great new ideas. I know a couple that are working on legislature that will come into play this year concerning the clean air. And I will support it 100% because we are all about clean air. We're with the Rocky Mountains.
Thank you both. I'm going to shift gears into relationships, if you will, of an appropriate type, right? Between the Provo City and Utah County Commission. How would you describe the relationship currently, and as if elected mayor, what would you strive to do to improve that relationship? We'll begin with Michelle and then go to Sherrie.
So I'm a person that when they decide to do something, they go into deep research mode. And I have met one-on-one with each one of the county commissioners and discussed for over an hour with each one the issues and problems and the concerns. And I have heard their side of the story, is I guess how you would say it. And then immediately I went and met with Mayor Curtis and heard his side of the story when it comes to the contention between the county commissioners and the city. They're fixable. I can tell you they're fixable. I am known for being a bridge builder. I am known for being a peacemaker. I walk into a contentious situation and can calm it down. I have the skill set. People believe in me and trust me. I can do this for the city. I can negotiate and I can calm things down so we're not seeing lawsuits in the newspaper when we wake up in the mornings. We need to get that under control.
Thank you. Sherrie.
Thank you. Not only have I been doing research, but I've been in the trenches for 16 years building these relationships, not only with Utah County, but all of our state legislators, our planning organizations and all. We have, I would describe the relationship right now as political. There are differences of opinion in how we should approach some of the problems in the area, what things we should fund, where we should go. And we need to let those work out. But we can do those things. We can address address the political issues while still finding productive solutions. I've also spent a lot of time with each of these commissioners talking about the important issues that are in front of us. And I think we've got a great working relationship. I have a lot of respect for what they're doing and the things that they're trying to manage. Think of the situation from their perspective. We're dealing with growth in Provo. They're dealing with 1.8 million people. They have some pretty heavy things on their plate, and I think that we can work very collaboratively for Provo's good.
Thank you very much. Let's shift gears to more of a CEO question. As mayor, if elected, you're the CEO of a very robust organization, and as such, you will be the buck will stop with you over a $200+ million budget. So, what is your experience in managing robust budgets such as the city of Provo? Budget question, and that goes to you, Sherrie, first.
Well, when I came onto the council, we changed the budget process, and we began to introduce a lot more transparency into it. We drilled down with all of the various departments and helped them to guide their objectives and to reach toward their budget goals. Are we finished? No. The council has continued to do that, and I'm grateful for the work that they continue to do to make our budget better. It's a $225 million budget. I've also worked with our transit organization, $375 million budget, and they're very well run. One of the things that I put into place was to help us cap at the largest amount a contingency fund, a rainy day fund in both of those budgets so that there's stability within those organizations. We'll keep working to work better, smarter, and do more. Provo City is doing more for our taxpayers now than they have in history for a long time.
Thank you. Michelle.
So I feel really privileged because, unlike my opponent, she was on the city council quite a few years ago. I am relevant right now. I hold a political office in the city. I'm in my 7th year on the Board of Education. I am in those meetings behind closed doors. Our district budget was 120 with assets, 300 million. I have been in on that, managing that budget for 7 years now, and we have won awards for coming in under budget, ahead of time on multiple projects. I am not afraid of a big budget. I deal with big numbers every single day in the district. I have been it for 7 years. I'm in it, and I'm comfortable with it. And as your mayor, I will be happy to handle your dollar, because I know every single dollar counts. Every dollar is important to you and has value, and I will recognize that and respect that.
Did she just say it wasn't relevant?
No, you're not.
No, ladies.
Actually, I am, because I am appointed to UTA's board and I am managing their budget currently, Michelle, and I'm also on several boards.
Let's move on, please. If elected as the mayor, I have a prayer in my heart so that we'll get out of control here. All right. As the CEO again, are there any ordinances or zoning ordinances, parking ordinances, things of that nature? Any ordinances that you would like to see repealed or redressed? We begin first with Michelle and go to Sherrie.
So I have been attending the city council meetings for almost a complete year now, and I am so fascinated by their goals they've set. The #1 goal that they've been working on is zoning compliance, and they have put a lot of sweat and hard work into that. I believe there are issues with it. There's things that we need to address. There's multiple issues with multiple problems, but when you come in as a mayor, you come in with a new set of eyes and new energy. You surround yourself with the best people possible, and at that point, you make the best decisions that are going to impact the city for the better. They're going to improve every aspect of the city for every citizen.
Thank you. Sherrie?
Thank you. I've also worked long and hard with the city council, and I've continued to stay engaged with our city council. I'm not to speak with them. I work with them on a lot of very difficult issues in our city. We have great opportunities, and we're going to be able to move forward very quickly and have a new balance. We have equal branches of government, but I think I'm excited most of all to be able to work with our city council and be able to come up with priorities that really move our city together and honor both roles so that we can do our very best for the citizens of Provo. We should be the best we can in each of our roles, and I look forward to that opportunity.
Thank you. We're going to go back to transportation now with a question. UDOT has identified 800 North as a logical place of establishing a new interchange on I-15. What are your thoughts about that interchange? We'll begin with Sherrie, and go back to Michelle.
Well, I've been through this one for a long time. We looked at this when I was on the council of doing a frontage road system, and we didn't put a frontage road system in at that time. So now we're looking at an exit, and it's an exit that enables us to get to our hospital. It's a planning process that we need looking to the future. We have to stop looking 5 years down the road and begin to look 10, 20, and 30 years down the road. We're putting the infrastructure in that helps our city. It helps our future generations. It helps the economy. It helps our public safety. And so we need to be able to proceed through this public process. I'm committed to a very transparent process for this city so that we can understand what the options are. And after we've all been able to express our preferences, make a principled decision about what's the best thing for the most people for the longest foreseeable future.
Thank you. Michelle, please.
So it's interesting that when they were doing the huge reconstruction on I-15, who remembers that? It seemed like it was endless, but it did come to an end. And once it was complete, I remember being told that now we've already outgrown that. That more cars are on and we've already outgrown that huge project. And I just remember thinking, are you kidding me? We've all suffered through this for years and now we're already behind the 8 ball again. So I am a huge proponent for planning ahead. If it's going to make it more accessible to get to the hospital and to our downtown and to our city and to the schools and universities, I'm all for it. We have to make, this city is a north-south city. I'm in favor for east-west. I don't know who planned this, but there is a lot of north-south in Provo and not a lot of east-west to get across. And we need to look at that and consider that.
Thank you. And we'd like to remind the audience, we are going to invite our candidates for a 90-second closing statement, and then invite you. There are some questions we have not had time to get to. Again, we appreciate their bumper sticker answers that they've given, but there's an essay behind every one. So you have an opportunity to visit with them in more depth at the conclusion of the debate at their tables. So with that, we first began with Michelle, so we will first begin with Sherrie on a closing statement for 90 seconds. And I know that there are some questions up here that are about what makes you the most qualified candidate and things of that nature. So if you're 90 seconds, if you could address that, why you think you should be the mayor of Provo City. And then we'll go to Michelle.
Thank you. As a single mother, I chose to raise my family here in Provo. Now that my children are adults, they're choosing to live here and operate their businesses here in Provo. As a businesswoman, I grew my business here in Provo as a mom with a Mac to a full-on marketing firm with a video studio. As a public servant, I chose to serve here in Provo. I chose to serve on their boards and on community boards after I left elected office to raise my daughter during her final years. The city is the center of my life, and it's the center of your life as well. It's crucial that we honor the sense of community, our sense of history, our sense of the connection and the charm that we have here. I believe for 16 years, I have been gaining exactly the kind of experience that Provo needs next. The experience that will address our transportation issues, the experience that will help us in housing, the experience that will help us with redevelopment and community and neighborhoods. For us to be successful, it depends on a greater vision. It depends on a greater vision that is the vision of all of us in Provo and our community. And it also depends on you voting for Sherrie Hall Everett for your Provo mayor. I ask for your vote. I ask for your trust. I will not let you down. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle, please.
I was born and raised in Provo by a single mother with 7 siblings. It was we were just discussing in our sisters group message how we cannot believe now, as we're older and mothers, our mother, how she did it. She passed away when I was in my 20s, but to raise 7 children, she worked the graveyard shift at the hospital, and I've had to work for every single thing I have. My sisters have had to work for everything. I worked 2 jobs to get myself through BYU. Nothing's come easy for me, but let me say this, I am not afraid to work. I am not afraid to get dirty and get down in the trenches. I am ready to work. I'm engaged in the community. I want to keep Provo strong, protect our neighborhoods, keep our neighborhoods strong, and bring you to the table. I want you to come and feel like you're being heard and be engaged and have a seat at the table, because I respect your opinions and your views, and I want to learn from you and hear from you. I want to keep Provo with a strong economic development. I want to keep strong families, strong neighborhoods, strong millennials. We have to address the millennials. They make our city vibrant, and I'm here to make sure everything will run smooth and will have momentum, and we'll keep striving for the best we can be in the city of Provo. I ask you to vote for me, Michelle Kafusi. My cell phone is all over on all my information. I am happy to return calls. I prefer face-to-face, so I would love to visit. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you join me in thanking our board? It is not an easy task. It is not an easy task to be peppered with questions that you don't know about ahead of time. And we thank them both for their professionalism and for their direct response. We will now transition for 2 minutes as we bring up our city council members to sit up here on the stage, and we will follow a similar format. During the 2-minute transition, go ahead, John, let's get things rolling here.